and lovely seeing all of you here, and thanks for coming and joining us for the panel discussion. So my name is Neha Rohilla. I'm part of Natwest as the VP HR, and we have our honorable panel here. So without further ado, I'd like to start off with a discussion. And all of us know how important upskilling, reskilling, or rather I'll say learning and development is for all of us. So for me, the first question which comes to mind is, what are some of the trends in L&D which you can see coming up in the year 2026? And this is obviously open to all of us. I would like to hear from all of you.
Sure. Thank you, BW people, for having us here on this panel. I think two emerging trends that are going to come. One definitely is on the skill-based learning. That's going to be the in thing. And then the second one is more immersive learning. That would be the two major trends that will fall through.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, BWB, for having us on the panel over here. It's a pleasure to be joined by fellow panelists over here. So the question in terms of what trends do we see, I think trends are going to be multifold. There's not going to be binary. So the way we see it happening is that we've divided our sort of learning and development into two aspects. One is professional development, another one is a skill development. So professional development is when people seek to pursue higher education or certifications which are important for their career growth. Skill development is when we feel that a person can pick up a skill along with doing a BAU activity. So we are seeing those. The way I see them shaping is, it's a hybrid of all mediums. I can see experiential learning, which when you put them out in the OJT environment and let them learn from there. I can see a classroom-based training. I can see the immersive training, as they mentioned, in terms of CBT modules, etc. So it's not going to be one size fit all. It's going to be how you take it and what the need of your organization is and how you tailor it to the need of your organization.
So for a long time, I think learning management systems have kind of been a base. And about 5 years ago, we saw the LXP come in and kind of try to change things around. I think 2026, I don't think is going to be a very exciting year in terms of creating trends, right? And I'll tell you why. I think generative AI has now become, as my co-panelist said, embedded learning, right? It's going to pick up pace, but we are nowhere close to implementing in the flow of work. Right? So I think 2026 is going to be a year when people are going to start thinking how you can bring in generative AI models into the flow of work, maybe through MS Teams, various other flow of work software that we are using. So I think it's going to be a dull year.
Any other further views?
Yes. So as Pancham also said, experiential learning is going to be one of the keys in future. The model around 70-20-10, the focus is shifting to 70-20 now, than the 10. And people are looking at how AI can help you do the 70-20 part better, because that's where the focus has been less in the past.
So if I have to see what are the things, certain things changing, one, we all are familiar with leadership competencies, then it comes functional competencies and skill competencies. How do you integrate all of them to make sure the employee seamless performance, because the business expects the outcomes now and here. They don't have energy to wait for longer duration. So what matters is how conceptual, contextual creativity we can bring in a learning approach we are driving.
Thank you. Makes sense, actually. And I'll say there are actually a lot of divided views on how L&D will develop going in the future. And with that comes my question. The first question, and Pancham, I would really want you to share your views on this one, is many organizations are striving to personalize upskilling at a scale, right? So what do you see as the single biggest barrier to achieving this across a large or diverse workforce?
See, the answer lies in the question itself. You're personalizing at scale. Now, how do I need the personal need of the employee? So I need to have a study done to understand that what skill X, Y, Z needs to be upskilled on. Like we do leadership development programs. Now what we're trying to, earlier leadership development programs, you'd put 20 people in a cohort and you'd expect them to go through the whole learning. We've broken it down to semantics of, okay, this program will be in 2 stages. to understand whether you are fit for people development, people manager role, or you're fit for an independent contributor role, and your career will progress in that regard. So we're trying to get markers from initial trainings, so initial assessment trainings, to understand what is the personal need of the employee. Now, if you ask my team today, they'll say we all want to be AI fluent or AI literate. But is there a use for everyone to be AI literate? Maybe not. 50% of the organization, yes, but not everybody is going to use it. Case in point is, you do so much on CBT trainings. Everybody's supposed to do mandatory hours in a year. My biggest pet peeve on this is that come year end, everybody's registered, nobody's finished. So what's the need of hyper personalization or giving such trainings when people are registering but not finishing it? So the assessment in terms of understanding your employee need, having those assessment trainings is going to help you figure out whether you want to curate personalized experiences or you want to do cohorts of personalized experiences where people of similar interests go for certain trainings and people of other interests go into different trainings.
Okay, great. So as per you, you think it's better to identify first where we need the upskilling and reskilling, and then obviously we can pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Anyone else would have any views?
I want to add. So personalization itself is a very perspective-driven piece, and another aspect of looking at is the learning styles are changing. If in a multi-generational workforce, everybody has different styles and everybody wants to learn the same thing in a different way. Trying to address that part is also very critical. So I've got a lot of Gen Zs in my last few roles looking for an Insta Reel-based learning module, while I've got my baby boomers who still want to have classroom trainings driven by people. So how do you contextualize and have different programs to address the same need is going to be the key as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, moving on to the next bit, which is again very critical, which is investing in digital technologies. And all of your organization, of course, they're doing that. So investing in digital technologies, AI, analytics, cloud, or even cybersecurity requires a careful prioritization. How are organizations deciding which digital skills to prioritize, and how do you handle the risk of widening digital skills gap? I might repeat if required, but...
See, I think there's so much technology out there that it's really difficult to pick what is right for you. Right? And I know a lot of friends who have burnt their fingers going for they just Google, okay, what is the topmost platform for whatever they're trying to solve, and they get that platform, and then they are not able to use that platform for whatever reasons, right? And that's because the systems within the entire HR ecosystem and the larger IT ecosystem within the company don't talk to each other, right? So when you have a situation like that, when your existing systems which hold your data, because for all of these systems to run, the fuel is the data. So when you don't have access to the data, because they lie in legacy systems which don't integrate with the AI-based systems that are currently available in the market, then no matter how much of money you pour into that initiative, it's not going to bear fruit. It's as simple as that, right? So a couple of ways you can do that. So you can go back to the drawing board, redesign your processes, your HR systems that you have, and then look at the gaps and try to bring in technology to fill those gaps. I think that's a more sensible way to address things. Rather than saying, okay, here's this new flashy toy in the market, I have some budget to spend and let me go and procure it.
I think from my perspective, right, I think we, from a L&D, HR and L&D, right, is in a very pivotal state, right, of your question specifically, right? We have the dollars, but where we need to invest is very important. And how do we do it? We have to create the right human supply chain. That's the key motto, right? There are a lot of technologies that are coming in. For us, we measure it in terms of profit per employee. We have to ensure that the person who we invest is able to get billable, right from a very short time. So what do we do? Organizations needs to, don't forget about technology, stack and AI and cloud and Mac, and a lot of these buzzwords keep coming over a point of time every 5 years. What we need as an organization is investing in 3 key things. What I call is skills taxonomy, skills inventory, and skills ontology. Unless and until we don't have a mapping of that, there'll be hazard technologies that will be coming in. Now, we're not going to boil the ocean by just keep investing, and when the guy is not, he or she is not productive, then that's a wasted effort. So get those base skill database up and running so that whatever the demand that comes in, you're able to upskill that individual based on his or her interest, whether this individual, imagine if you just go and send a person to learn Python who has no math background, he'll fail miserably. You know, we're demotivating them. So ensure that your skill adjacency and the demand are mapped at an employee level, and then upskill them so that that is where, you know, the rubber hits the road. And the billability starts off, the profit, the revenue per employee starts, and then the question automatically gets addressed.
One more point to add is, you know, sometimes you should not look at training from perspective of just because you're aligned to a particular skill. I see training, especially from a cyber perspective, as a user of the technology, what you need to understand so that you don't end up making that mistake. So that awareness training needs to get done, not necessarily a upskill training needs to get done. So I think that's something which the whole organization can
use it exactly.
Absolutely. And how to use it intelligently.
Yeah. Great. Would you like to add something, Sumit?
One example is around how we really look at digital technology embedding in the flow of work now. If you look at, I come from pharma industry here, so let's take the job of MR, a medical representative, which all of us would have seen in the past. The job was primarily going to the market, meeting the doctor and telling them the product monologue. It has changed massively now, and everything is digitized. Now people are managing more WhatsApp channels to just produce the content, manage content using content libraries, and that's where the true embedding of digital skills is coming into play.
Interesting, thank you. Now, in addition to this, and obviously in the same flow of question, we all are talking about AI, right? I want to understand from your perspective, what do you think is the impact of AI in learning and development? Specifically, I'll say the core learning, it should be upskilling, it could be upskilling, or obviously related to your specific jobs, right? How is it related? What do you think? What is your perspective on AI having a positive impact, a negative impact? How is it changing the learning world?
The way I look at this is, what is the impact of AI, or particularly in this case, I think it's more Gen AI than AI, on the learner, right? I think the moment we change the question, if we point the question inward and say, what is the impact on L&D, I don't think we'll get the right answer, right? But if you turn that question around and say, okay, what is the impact of Gen AI or any of these new technologies on how learners want to learn, that's a better way to start finding out where the problem areas are. And then you look to address those problem areas.
Okay, great.
Maybe I can just cite an example.
Sure.
All of us are familiar with AI. All of us are familiar with various AI tools. We have our own interpretations. We use it for our own convenience and etc. But is there a common knowledge among all of us? Maybe, maybe not. So in our organization, what we did was we made sure all the HR employees go through a workshop of the AI fundamentals in place. First, let us get an understanding before whether performance management or learning and development or comp and ben, whichever vertical within the HR. First, let us get a fundamentals in place, then see how you want to unleash and explore based on organization need and demand. Because it is existing, don't absorb for the sake of absorbing.
Agree. That's a very important point. Just because it's available doesn't mean that you have to go ahead and use it. Yeah, you're adding something.
No, I was just saying that, you know, it's important. AI adoption is going to be across, you know, be it sales, be it HR, be it tech, the one who builds the systems, everybody, right? So one thing is to understand as to how to leverage it and be in the human in the loop. That's the important element that, you know, everybody, right from the top to the bottom, need to understand, right? If there is a tool, if there is an offering, if there is, you know, something that is AI solution, you know, automation, hyper automation solution, one has to understand how we leverage them. From a learning perspective, I told you, right, there's there's a trove of data that is available. And again, I'm saying meaningful data. We can capture a lot of things, but it should be meaningful. Once we have those data elements, right, it gives you a complete persona, personalized learning offerings for employees at every level, for every function, for every business. That helps individuals don't spend time with what they don't want. They only need to know what is important, right? So that amount of learning curve is being reduced considerably.
So that's a benefit, a big benefit, I'll say rather. Pancham, you were adding something.
I think it's the change is going to come in the next couple of years with AI. It's still very nascent. Every organization is in a different level of adoption of AI, and the technology is changing faster than you can imagine. So I get trained somebody on Gen AI, and the next one is agentic AI. You haven't even embedded Gen AI, and you're moving on to the next one. So it's going to be continuous, and it's going to be seen in the following years. And when organizations become AI native in terms of technology, that's when the real benefit of it will come. Right now, it is more experiential and figuring out how this will impact us.
Great. Sumit.
One example, most of the HR folks have this as a dreadful exercise of running the year-end performance cycle and talent conversations. And the first thing that everybody looks at is how to enable our managers to have those conversations well. And AI coaching solutions are one of those which are trying to bring the solution at scale and simplify things for you. If you look at products like Degree, LinkedIn, they have got role play solutions today which allow you to emulate those situations directly. So you have real use cases where you can bring impact at scale without consuming a lot of bandwidth of HR as a function.
Great.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just
No,
because my colleague has used the appraisal feedback discussion, at least my humble request as a manager, don't use the chat GPT to use your sentence formation of feedback and copy paste. I have seen people literally brought it to my notice and said that, Karthik, this is genuinely not the real feedback.
Well,
That's honest feedback.
Well, that has reduced grammatical errors in all the emails across organization.
Yes, and a big thank you to technology for that. Great. So I think, okay, on the same tone, I will have one more quick question. Slightly might be derailed, but we had a lot of learning, development, trainings happening in classrooms. So, and now we are moved online completely. Any take on that? Which one you think is better?
We haven't moved online completely. I think the good old classroom solutions are still around, at least in our case. And we see a lot of uptake for it. In fact, our top of the house leadership program is completely, offline. It is in the classroom. And we are even flying people across cities to attend in person, and it's a whole day session. Right? So I think there is still a lot of value to meeting people in person, especially at the leadership level. You want to meet and learn from your peers, right? Yeah. So yeah, there's still a lot of interest. Even amongst the Gen Zs, by the way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to my earlier point, it's going to remain hybrid. It's horses for courses. You just can't say everything is going to be online. I took my team out last year, a team of 30, for an experiential learning into an army boot camp, because I wanted them to understand and challenge them in terms of their own limitations, which didn't exist. So when you push yourself physically and mentally, you see a different side of yourself. Then we had a classroom-based training for how to sell. For non-sales people, and the trainer clearly said that this can only be effective if I do it in person. So, and then there is the CBT modules, which I told you people register but don't finish. So everything has a different color to it.
Agree. Interesting.
In my organization, what we are doing it is, one, learning is not mandatory. The moment we do the mandatory, then the question comes as people ask, okay, where is the roles and opportunities for me to grow and apply? So therefore, I'm mindful not creating that, one. Secondly, my organization is 24/7, 80% of the population work across the various shifts, out of which around 50 to 55% work in the night shifts across geographies. So it was important for us from a learning and development point of view, especially behavioral learning programs. We do in the hybrid model. And with that, what happened, initially business asked us to do the learning programs only during the second and the third week of every month. because of month end and the week starting of the month. However, with the understanding of the business and when we landed up doing the learning programs based on the employee working hours, my completion ratio of hybrid model facilitator-led has moved from 37% to 82%. Okay, that has been happened over a period of 3 years that we could able to do. Along with that, I just don't endorse only the hybrid model. Okay, I also endorse, like my colleague Roy also said, that in-person workshops also we encourage it. Depends on who is the cohort and what is the purpose behind it. Basis on which we make sure it is viable or not viable. Eventually, people can able to absorb sitting in a classroom during the 8 hours of the entire workshop. What is the creativity is required is something we deliberate about it. If there is a business buy-in and business sign-off is there, we expect the business to be the sponsors. If the answer is yes, then automatically people will come out.
Agree, and that's actually very important. Again, as we said, it's something which will be divided always between a hybrid and obviously an in-person one, as per the requirement and need of the hour. So thank you so much. And moving on to the next bit, which would be, we are talking a lot about technology, we are talking a lot about upskilling. So with technology evolving so quickly, how do you keep reskilling efforts current without causing burnout or learning fatigue for employees, specifically for employees, right? And Pancham, to your point, right? There's so many things available, but do you need all of them? So how do you keep reskilling but keep it relevant? Any examples on those?
So I happen to be mentoring college students who are doing their MBA and stuff. And a couple of weeks back, I asked them, like, what is a topic that you want to be mentored on? And one of them said, I want to know what certifications I need to do. And then the entire group said, yeah, we'd like to know. And there were 4 different streams of MBA graduates. So I said, okay, let's put a list and go through some of those lists. Anybody wants to guess what is the number of certifications they had, the number of certifications each stream had? Take a wild guess.
Any number, audience?
10? About some of the streams had as high as 20, right? Now, see, the thing is, it's not about picking up certifications and having a very long resume, right? I think when somebody is looking for a job, I know I'm slightly deviating. I know you're asking for experienced folks, but if you look at it, even for the more tenured professionals, it's not about how many certifications you have in your CV, right? When somebody is interviewing you and you're applying for a job, it could be within the organization, externally, they are looking at you to solve a problem, right? And it's essential that you have the skills, competency, the capability to solve that problem. They're not looking at what all knowledge you possess, because if the problem requires just 1 or 2 of those skills, the remaining 80% of those certifications that you have is of no use, right? So I think the same applies to people who are more tenured. I think it's important to kind of be very focused as to what their current job requires them to do. What does the future job require? Like, what are the skills or capabilities that is required to do your future job? And then identify and pick up only those skills and try and master those skills, right? Because the deeper you go, the more likely that you're probably going to use those skills better than most other people.
So, okay, again, my question slightly more towards, we are seeing a lot of learning fatigue. How do you think people can deal with that?
See, you have to understand when you're dealing with a tenured lot or people, Gen Zs and all that, you have to always address the Wi-Fi FM, right? What's it in for me? The purpose and the Wi-Fi FM have to be addressed. Then there's no fatigue, if that's how they want to be. Going back to my earlier point, right, it's for tenured folks, we have to understand that we have to work very closely with the business. What is the new business that is coming in? I'm speaking more purely from a technology stack, right? How do we get those demand in place, in which location and so on? So if we find that there are X number of people with the base skills that are there, and then offer them at an L2 or an L3, they get promoted, they get monetized for learning, they get a bonus, they get everything, right? So stitch that to the larger purpose and you solve a majority of the problem. You don't have to have hunting for people to sign up for programs, right? You give them what is on offer, what is your base skills, and do the targeted population. And there we settle the dialogue with them. And we've had numerous academies that are oversubscribed because of this.
Please.
So there are two drivers for learning fatigue. One, you ask employee to do something they don't believe in, they don't want to connect with. 90% of the trainings that fit in this are the regulated trainings that we push an employee to do. Second is the capacity. We often want them to do 100 things, but we don't allow their capacity to do that. So if you don't embed that as part of the flow of work, then that's going to be a problem. Second, if you don't dedicate some time for them on a daily basis to learn something new, or on a weekly basis, they will feel fatigued at some point, sometimes due to learning, sometimes due to work.
I think that's a very important point, Sumit. Yes. So the learning should not be an add-on. It should be a part of your BAU. Pancham.
Outcome-based learning and training could take away the fatigue. I'll give you an example. Last month two of my teams participated in a hackathon. And this was a learning for them because they hadn't been exposed to certain aspects of agentic AI and they had to learn on the go. They had to create UI, UXs, and which they were not exposed to. And there was a reward in the hackathon as well. They won or not is immaterial, but being part of the whole experience and competing against tenured organizations, I think was something which was very well appreciated. And it takes away the fatigue because your outcome is going to be seen at an event and you're going to get publicity within the organization. So I think that is one way of doing it. I'm not sure if it is called gamification, if this is gamification, but this is somewhere close to gamification where people have an interest in showing you that, oh, I know Python, but I can do 10 different things beside it as well. So I think that those kind of learnings with this generation go a long way.
Just a quick knowledge share, because Sumit had mentioned compliance training, and we are also highly regulated being in the BFSI sector. So one of the things that we did a couple of years back was we introduced these waves of compliance training, right? So in the past, we would randomly roll out compliance trainings every month, and at times some people were loaded with about 40 hours of training in a month, right? So to have a more structured approach, what we did was we said we'll have 3 waves in a year, and each wave there's going to be a limited number of trainings, right? So that was one that we introduced. The other piece that we did simultaneously was we introduced a pre-test, and we said if you scored 80 and above, you don't need to do the training, right? And these 2 measures have led us to a completion rate of 99.8.
Wow, that's a huge number.
And even that 0.2 is people who are on medical leave and stuff like that. So very, very good compliance, adherence rates.
Makes sense. That. If you already know something, you don't have to go through mandatorily the whole thing. Yeah.
Maybe if I may add.
Yes, please.
So what we did in our organization, like I said, learning is not mandatory, so there is no fatigue per se. It's the choice of the. However, what we try to do it is every quarter we engage our conversations with the managers and the business leaders to understand what is the forecast in terms of the business they are looking forward for the upcoming quarters. One is that. Second thing is every 6 months what happens is based on the learnings people have gone through, we review what are the inputs came across from the employees. We don't have a feedback template kind of format. We try to see what are the skills must have and need to have. We try to understand that and what is the people looking forward for. So then what happens is we constantly are enhancing our learning modules, and the learning programs that are there are being consistently existing year and year, and because of the revamp that is taking place, and people are automatically able to go through the learning program. Even the same program, if I have to customize it based on the department or based on certain level, we use the business case studies and we involve in driving the learning.
Agree. And thanks for that, Karthik. And just shifting my gears a little bit here, and you just were talking about performance a while back. So one question on the bit, how are organizations leveraging real-time performance matrices to drive ongoing development, and what insights have proven most actionable or useful, of course?
Okay, one, we were looking at the performance feedback. See, fortunately or unfortunately, within the HR, we only have our own artificial boundaries or the lines we draw. So we don't try to correlate them. So what we started doing it is, we started looking at the performance feedback which comes across against each employee which is in the tool. And we extract that and we map it against, okay, what are the learning pattern, what are the patterns or the behavioral indicators that we could able to see. And with the leadership competencies we have introduced this year, we have done the assessment center. So then what we are trying to do it is study the learning patterns. Once we study the learning patterns, what are the learning interventions required against which level of experienced people at what premises at what cost. And that's the need of the hour also is something we try to ask. And then we propose it to the management and that's how we go about rolling it out. And we always talk about personalization. Personalization need not be individualization to an employee. So personalization could be a set of group of individuals. How are we trying to see across geography what is a learning intervention needs to be done? And eventually, I always encouraged my own team and in the organization is, as a learning and development, conceptually having a good knowledge is very important on any subject that we are trying to do it. But what is more important thing is, can you convert that into contextual from a business language point of view? Can we speak the business language in terms of profitability, revenue, billability, all those things, basis on which what is the creativity you're bringing into your context? And then that linking pin is doing it. If not, we try to make it a point that we bring some of the HR business partners or business to be partner with us in driving the learnings.
Okay. Anyone else wants to take on? How is it helping performance, real-time performance management?
Ours is different. I feel feedback not delivered on time is not useful because it's not actionable. So the moment we see actionable feedback, we sort of deliver that to the employee so that there can be, if it is developmental, then they develop on it. If it is commendable, then they should get the commendation on time as well, which goes a long way in terms of retaining their interest, because if I'm giving some feedback for this quarter in the next quarter, the employee has made the same mistake umpteen number of times in the quarter. So it helps to have the engagement level. It helps that it is not an element of surprise when you come to mid-year and final year review, because you just can't put a point saying that, oh, we observed this in you, but you didn't give them a chance to improve. So I think ongoing feedback, timely feedback is important in employee engagement and improvement, real-time improvement over a period of time, not just looking at mid-year and year-end.
Great, agree. Sumit.
So I'll again go back to the same example. Let's say somebody who's in sales and is not able to convert sales very effectively. In the erstwhile days, we used to have those, somebody referred to a program, 3 months down the line, somebody have to cater to the program. With technology, AI, and coaching specifically, things have come into play where you allow people to emulate role plays on sales. So if I am not doing well on a certain program, I can go and do it now with technology availability at scale. And that will help you drive the business outcome more effectively than something coming 3 months down the line. Echoing what Pancham says.
Great. So yes, real-time feedbacks, real-time learnings, and real-time upskillings and reskillings are very important. Looking at the time, we might not have a lot of time left. So I want one last question for all of you, open to all. So if you could give one practical tip to your peers, landing and scaling of personalized L&D initiatives, what would it be? One from all of you, and you'll just have 30 seconds for it.
It goes back to my first answer. Assess the needs of the organization and then look at what you want to drive within the organization. If you want to be an AI native organization, by all means go for AI fluency and literacy and skill based. If it is leadership and development programs you want to see, assess your employees at what stage of growth you are as an organization and what is the demographic of your organization where you want to impart that training. Unless you've done your assessment, don't go by what the market says. Don't be in a FOMO mode. Make it a white glove service for yourself.
Great.
I would say look at your business strategy, business outcomes that you're looking for, both near term and long term, and then map everything else to that.
Okay, thank you. Yahya?
I think I've covered it, my previous
One
question.
brief tip.
I think aligning to your organization and your employee, right, as L&D leader. I think these are the two things, be it behavioral, be it tech, be it leadership, everything comes into it.
Thank you. Karthik.
So I agree. One, we need to know what is the business purpose or business forecast. That is the critical thing, aligning ourselves according to that. Second, as a learning and development, as a HR professional, we need to do a self-reflection or introspection. What are we doing and what is going well, what is not going well? And as unbiased as possible we are, and taking the realistic opinion from the people would be the making sense. Last but not least, it is important that getting to know what is happening in the industry and study that. All the things may not be relevant to my organization. I may not be applying all the things, but at least when management asks what is that you want to do or what is some of the views that you have, you should be having a sense to speak what is exactly you're looking for rather than being more from the internal assessment point of view. That is not what really buys in. What is something new you're bringing in from the industry will differentiate.
Thank you. Sumit.
So tying back learning with growth is extremely critical for learning to stay. If you're not able to apply your learning, the learning will not stay with you for long. And for everybody who's here, if you are not giving growth to your employees after learning, they will lead to learning fatigue at some point.
Thank you. And I just have about 2 minutes with me for a question from the audience, if anyone has any questions. Thank you so much. Do we still have time?